Hey friends, today we are going to be talking about implied texture. Now we've learned a lot about actual texture in class in the past, and actual texture is where you can actually feel the surface. So in this little collage of a cloud, there is cotton glued all over to the cloud. So this would be actual texture because if I could touch it, I can actually feel it. Or tactile texture. We use actual texture a lot in our collages. A lot of you have glued sandpaper to collages with me to make things look rough, or cotton to make things look soft and fluffy. A lot of you have done actual texture and sculpture projects with me during paper mache or with clay when we're adding things to the mass to add different textures, or if we're carving into the clay to add textures. And so actual texture you can actually feel. Implied texture, this cloud has implied texture. So it is drawn to look fluffy, but if I touch this drawing, it's just gonna feel like a piece of paper because it's just pencil and paper. So implied texture looks like it has a texture, but it doesn't. The little kids, we a lot of times call that fake texture in class. All right, so today we are going to be doing this turtle drawing, and we're going to be doing texture rubbings to give the turtle shell implied texture. Now I did mine with lots of different colors just so that each of the texture shows up a little bit differently. You could do your whole turtle with greens and browns and neutral colors with the green to give it a more realistic look. That is up to you. I just liked the fun colors. Now what a texture rubbing is, most of you probably don't have texture rubbing panels like this at home. You can make your own homemade ones by gluing sequins or gluing little pieces of sandpaper to a piece of cardstock or cardboard to make your own texture panels, but I'm going to show you how you can use just things around your house for these texture rubbings in just a minute. But you take something that has an actual texture, okay? You put it under a piece of paper, and this has an actual texture. You can hear those bumps. You put it under a piece of paper and hold it still, and then you use a crayon. We will need crayons for this project. Color pencils will work too, but crayons just work a little bit better because that wax rubs onto the paper. And you rub across, and whatever texture was on that surface is going to pick up onto your rubbing. Most of you have done these with me in class, but if you haven't, my kindergarten friends, this is a fun project to do. Okay, so first we have to draw our turtle, and then we're gonna pause the video, go around the house and find things that have actual textures to be able to do the texture rubbings, but I'll tell you when it's time to do that, okay? Now first we're gonna draw our turtle, and you could do these texture rubbings on anything. You could draw a butterfly and do texture rubbings inside the butterfly wings if you wanted. You could just do texture rubbings all over the piece of paper and fill it in. But today I'm going to show you how to draw a turtle and then do the implied textures inside the turtle shell. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a large rainbow arch. You would do this with pencil, so if you mess up you can erase, but I'm going to do it with my marker. Large rainbow arch across the paper. That is the main part of the turtle shell. Okay. Now I'm just going to go out just a little, so it looks like the little curve of the turtle shell before it closes up. And I'm going to bring it down, slight curve, and connect. Okay, so it looks like an upside down soup bowl here. And I'm going to draw another line here, like that. On my turtle shell, I colored that portion brown, but remember you can color this any way you want. You could do it all rainbow colors if you want, have a rainbow turtle. Next, we're gonna draw the turtle's tail. Down here, we're just gonna draw diagonal line down, diagonal line up, so it looks like a sideways triangle. Right here, we're gonna start his neck. We're gonna go up at a diagonal line, curve around like a rainbow arch. I'm running out of room there. Then I'm going to come in like that and draw a little smile line. Then under here, kind of like for his chin, do a slight curve line, not quite as curvy as a letter C, but kind of like a half a letter C. Then I'm going to go in, back to the turtle shell. Okay, can just draw an eye right here. I'm just going to do a circle with a little light reflection, little circle for a light reflection. And for his feet, we just do square, the foot kind of behind him, smaller square. Square, the foot that's on the other side of behind him, smaller square. Now, to do the sections that we're going to fill in with implied textures. And remember, if I went too fast, to rewind this, pause me when you need to. That's the good thing about having Miss Hoffman on a video. To do the sections where we're going to fill this in with implied textures, with rubbings, we're going to start the top with just a half a circle, kind of like a smiley face. Line. Arched line, half circle. Next, we're going to kind of make rectangles. I'm going to come out, kind of at a curved line so it stays with the curve of that top. Down, over. Make another line here to start another rectangle. Out, over, connect. You could do 2 or 3. You make these as small as you want. You might have 2 or 3 or 4 rectangles across there. I just had room for 2. Make another one, down, over, down, over. Just drawing rectangles across the shell. Remember, if I'm going too fast to pause me. We just want plenty to fill in. Now, I'm going to show you, I didn't use my texture panels to create, remember to pause if you need to catch up on that, but I didn't use my texture panels to create my rubbings because I knew you guys wouldn't have texture panels at home like we have in the art classroom. So I just used random things I found around the classroom. So you're going to have a chance to go on a little scavenger hunt in a second around your house and find things that have texture. I'm going to show you what I used. For this section right here, do you see how it kind of looks like diamond shapes? I used the side of one of our color pencil baskets. Okay, for this section that has the little tight knit lines, and I did it on this section too, and it's okay if you use the same texture for more than one section. I use this for both of these. I used the top of this basket that we keep oil pastels in. Okay, it has like little tight knit lines. I put my paper on top of it and I rubbed over it. In this section, where's it at? This section right here that almost look like heart shapes or weavings, I used the weave section of the basket and it almost turned it to look like heart shapes. All right, for this section that has the thick, broader lines, I used the edge of a paper plate. All right, this one that has the really close knit looking design, I used the back of this mirror that we have laying around here for self-portraits. For the polka dots, you see the polka dots on this one, I used the side of this basket. I bet you have toy baskets around that have different textures on them, or maybe some toys that have textures. For this one that looks like a paper clip, what do you think I used for that? You're right, I used a paper clip. I put it underneath the paper and I tried to hold it still with my finger and I rubbed over it. And I can show you how to do that in a minute. For this one right here that looks like wood, I used a block of wood that we had left over from a leftover printmaking lesson. Has some texture here. If your parents have sandpaper laying around, that's a good texture. For this one that looks like a coin, I used a nickel. I put the nickel underneath the paper. Lined it up where I wanted it, held it still, and rubbed over it with my crayon. All right. Now, most of the leaves have been raked up, but leaves are usually a good thing. I used the side of this basket with the wider space circles for the wider space circles here. So, I'm going to let you take a second, and I'll have some little silly cartoons playing for a second while you go around your house, search for things that have a texture that if you feel of it, you think that kind of feels bumpy. okay? It can be a rhinestone hair bow, it can be a flat toy, it can be coins, it can be a little scrap of sandpaper, it can be the back of a mirror, it can be anything in your house that has a little bit of texture. And it's okay if it doesn't work out perfect. Like this one right here, I don't remember what I used for this one, but it didn't show up that well, and that's okay. This is trial and error. So take a minute, go search your house, look for things that have textures. Alright guys, if you're not done looking for all your textures, you can just hit pause on this video and wait until you are ready. But I'm going to show you again just how to do your texture rubbings with all your stuff. Sometimes it's a little hard to do it if you have something like this big basket, but I'm going to try to show you here. You're going to take the part that has the texture. You're going to lay your paper on top of it, kind of feel to make sure that the texture's underneath it. Hold your paper still with one hand, and then rub over it with your crayon. And it's going to pick up whatever texture's underneath it. Okay, I'm going to do another one. Let's see, I'm going to do my coin here. I'm going to put my coin under my paper. Try to place it where I want it, feel it, make sure it's there. Okay, hold it still with one finger. Now I'm going to rub over it. And this section of the will just be plain because there's no coin right there. You could put 2 or 3 coins under there if you wanted to, or move the coin over. It's kind of hard to hold on to small things, so you'll have to be careful. And now my turtle has a nickel right there. Isn't that cool? And so you're just going to find whatever textures you think will turn out cool, whatever you think might look interesting, and you are going to feel the texture, place it under your paper, feel to make sure it is lined up, hold it still, and rub over it. Okay? When you're done filling in each of your sections with your implied textures, you can just color your turtle just solid, which is what I did. I just used a solid green for his head, his tail, in between the textures, and his feet, and a solid brown for the brim of his shell. Or you can do textures all over the turtle. That is up to you. But I would love to see these when you get them done. I hope you had fun with this.